Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another Morning Coffee Talks. As I do more and more research around the internet, in my personal life and people I know, so on and so forth, when women talk about emotional awareness, they not talking about or they aren't talking about understanding our emotions, man. They're talking about understanding their emotions, right? Let that sink in for a second. Because if you've ever been told that, like, hey, you lack emotional awareness, the chances are what she really means is you don't understand how she feels, right? Um, if you don't get this, you may find yourself thinking your emotional awareness, but in reality, you're just kind of missing the message a little bit. Most men hear quote unquote emotional awareness and they just assume that it's their own emotions. We think it means like being in touch on what we feel, knowing how to manage stress, frustration, and even vulnerability. But when women bring it up, they usually are measuring it by how well we recognize how they respond to their emotions, right? Not ours. For example, you may be a type of man who's like calm and collected, thinking you handling the situation well. But if she doesn't feel heard or understood, you could still be labeled as emotionally unaware, right? So, so what's the real game here, right? Kind of what's the real viewpoint? Is emotional awareness basically like a one-way street where men are playing therapists, or is it a way to balance both perspectives? Because that's what I'm starting to see. Are we the ones that just in these relationships basically managing their emotions for them? So it's a good thought, right? But I also want to say this: there's a reality here where you're understanding your emotions and you're understanding the emotions of her. So, like, here's the dynamic: women tend to be more emotionally expressive, and they may interpret connection through shared emotional experiences, right? And then men, on the other hand, often view emotional awareness as something internal and understanding how they feel rather than focusing on how others feel, right? But there's an imbalance a little bit because if a man doesn't verbalize or mirror his woman's emotions, she may assume that he's emotionally unaware, right? But if a man can be emotionally aware without being reactive to every emotion, then that creates a good experience for his woman's emotions. Yeah. But this is, and a lot of men struggle with this, right? Because if we only focus on the woman's emotions, then a lot of time we neglect our own. And if we only focus on hers, then we get called emotionally unavailable. So it's like you can't win for losing. I don't know if y'all have heard that. You can't win for losing. So it's just, yeah, this is where it's a deep rabbit hole, man, that I'm starting to find. And it just, you see the cycle, you see the trend on this kind of this back and forth. It's like, yeah, let me dive into that again. Let me really think about that. So if we only focus on women's emotions, then a lot of us neglect our own. But if we only focus on their emotions, then we get called emotionally unavailable. That's a crazy, yeah, that's a crazy viewpoint. But I think for us men, we have to find balance, right? We have to find a solution because we the leaders, right? We have to have answers to the problems out there. And so for me, one thing I would say that we don't have to abandon our own emotional awareness just to cater to theirs, right? Or just to cater to your woman's. So we can practice a little bit of emotional leadership. And I would say maybe, definitely, unfortunately, if you're in a relationship, you have to acknowledge her emotions without being kind of reactive, right? So whatever they say, instead of giving them the answers, it's kind of like playing into it. And it's not, I hate to make it sound manipulative, but it's not. But it's just like, if you understand it, then just being reactive, like, okay, here's the answer to the problem to fix you not being emotional. It just kind of leaning into things like, oh, okay, I really see that that's frustrating you, right? Kind of leaning into validating their emotions versus giving them answers, right? Also, we have to maintain our own emotional identity. Like we can't suppress ours, but we can't let them control us either. So we have to manage our emotions differently, right? We definitely need an outlet, but you can't uh, you can't have your wife play therapist to you, because then it looks like you're weak. Then it looks like you can't control your emotions, right? It's a weird dynamic. I know it's really weird. Um, but also, man, if you know that, then you just gotta set the tone. Um, you have to set the tone for the emotional stability in the relationship. You have to be solid, right? You have to be the rock. Because here's the thing, remember, naturally, woman wants you to provide and what else? Protect. So if you always emotional and you seem reckless, like you can't hold your ish together, then she's not gonna feel safe, because she's like, wait a minute, I'm the one who has most of the emotions, and I'm coming to you basically to drop a load on you so I can feel safe about what I'm going through, right? A lot of times. And I need you to hold that. You know what I'm saying? I need you to hold these emotions a little bit, and then kind of help filter. And that's just what it is. So sometimes I think that, and I don't think it's like intentional, right? I don't think it's intentional, but I think a lot of times, and it's not fair, man. It's just not. But that's just sometimes what it is, and there's other things behind it. But sometimes we are the emotional punching bag, right? We're taking in so much stuff when it comes from life outside of the home, right? And then we still coming to home, and it's like, hey, take that, take this emotions. But a lot of that could be because a lot of women haven't went to therapy as well to be able to learn coping skills, right? And I think that's just what it is. A lot of women are super reactive, right? Because they haven't learned those different coping skills and things like that. But we have, and I tell guys, I've been saying this from even from my earlier videos. When I went to therapy, it wasn't just to have an outlet, right? It was to also talk through my emotions. That way, I can learn how to navigate when I am feeling things, right? I can learn my own coping skills and be able to release them in a way that's productive and structured. In that way, I'm not emotionally frustrated. I'm not emotionally out of control, right? And that's when it comes back to emotional leadership. But a lot of us, again, don't have the skills to be able to control our own emotion. And therefore, when our woman brings their emotions to us, again, they're not looking for answers. Unfortunately, we're very practical beings, men. We like, oh, it's a problem. What's the solution, right? What's the answer? We just like, look, we're trying to be done with the feeling of how we feeling. But for a lot of women, they don't. That's not how they move, right? They want to sit in it. They want to process it, and then I guess just let it bleed out. Let the problem kind of sink, kind of just, yeah, kind of bleed out a little bit. And listen, that's how they made, they design. That's just what it is. But the point of it is, so next time your woman tells you, hey, you're not emotionally aware, ask yourself before you react. Is she saying that, hey, do I not understand my emotions, or I don't understand hers? But 9 times out of 10, it's probably saying, hey, you don't understand hers, right? And therefore, now you like, okay, ding, 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 I know what she's saying. Let me not give her an answer per se. There are times she will want answers, right? She'll come and say, hey, it's more like, here's the thing, really quick, before we get out of here. If a woman asks you to solve a task, that's when she's kind of looking for an answer, right? But if she's telling you about a situation and it kind of goes into that story mode, not like, hey, can you put up the dishes? Or hey, do you like do you know how to do something, right? That's when they're asking for answers. But if it goes into that storytelling, or hey, this what happened to me, then 9 times out of 10, they're not looking for the answer. They're looking for you to just to validate how they feel. That's just what it is. And this is what I've seen. This is what my experience has been. Again, there you go, right? Listen, drop a comment below. Subscribe to the Husband Code if it's your first time. If you've been watching for a while, subscribe. Also, if you got any value from this video, or you agree, disagree, whatever, hit the like button. Also, we dropping videos like this every single day, so hit the notification bell as well. And until next time, hey, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. Much love. Tell me what y'all think in the comments about this. Am I wrong? Am I super off? I don't know. But we'll see y'all next time. Peace. Much love.